right, we're super excited for another podcast, and we have a great guest. We have Butch, who's a seasoned insurance professional with a bachelor's in business management from Grove City College. You began your career with Federated Insurance Renowned Training Program. And Butch, who said it's renowned? Like, who came up with that? Was that you?
It just sounds a lot better. No, but
It does sound better, but
it,
I don't
it
know. We're gonna
it's
have to verify that.
yeah.
And you later became a top producing broker for a bank-owned agency leading their Mid-Atlantic region. By 2020, you specialize in insurance solutions for technology, manufacturing, trade contractors, and you excel in educating companies on coverage, compliance, and risk management. And we're going to talk about all those things and how you're going to help protect our audience, who are mostly small business owners. And you're also a former two-sport captain in baseball and football at Grove City, and you now live in Baltimore with your wife, Haley, son, Nolan, and your dog, Charlie. And you like running, golf, and boating in Chesapeake Bay.
That's right.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're super excited. All right, so we talked previously, and people go, oh, insurance, who cares, right? I'm a small business owner. Why is this important? And why do I care? You told the story how a company lost almost $250,000, right? So like how's that even possible? And did they have the wrong insurance coverage? What did they do wrong that they actually out of pocket? What you said, I think at the end of the day they reclaimed 10 out of the 250, so they lost 240 grand. So if I lose 240 grand, I'm paying attention, and I don't want that to happen to me. So tell us the
Sure.
story.
And I think if they see the title insurance on this podcast, this might be the least viewed one out of
Exactly.
all
We
the
would have to
podcasts
edit
I
you
do.
out.
But yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's easy to see insurance as just a transactional expense and it's all the same. But when it comes down to it, it really helps protect businesses, especially your cash flow, when you're not covered for something unexpected, whether it's property, cyber, crime, your business auto equipment, etc. So I think it's always important to review because businesses change, insurance coverages change, and so it's always important to take a better, deeper dive into what you have than just trying to get the cheapest quote. So I think right now a big topic going on with banks and companies is check fraud, funds transfer fraud, and social engineering, which is basically someone pretending to be a vendor and or a CFO within a company and money's being wired out of your checking account. It's gone, right? And so speaking with clients, speaking with bankers and seeing some of this actually happen, it's scary stuff. And so fighting with a bank and typically from what I'm experiencing is banks are very strict and they do not want to cover fraud unless it's some way somehow through their system. And so in the situation that recently happened that I was telling you about, Adam, is yeah, I mean a company, they write a lot of checks. It's a contracting company, and they were gone on vacation and come back and look at their bank account and $265,000 in a variety of checks written out to companies they had no idea was gone. And so, I mean, it's a big hit for a small business, right? I think for any business,
Right.
especially when
And,
it's
and also
something.
more, if I'm a business owner, I think, oh, this is the bank's problem, right? The checks,
Yeah,
they cash the check. I'll call the bank, they'll reverse it and no problem, right? So, but that's not the case, correct?
that's correct. And so, what most banks are doing now is they have a product out there called Positive Pay. And Positive
Mhm.
Pay is a way that every single day you align your checks written out to your clients and you send it, the bank verifies before they release any of the money the following day. And so if something is flagged, it doesn't match up, they will alert you and you can
They won't honor the check.
correct. And so not everyone knows about this, right? Not everyone talks to their bankers and they're updated every single day. And for unfortunately, this person didn't have that service set up. And so they're on vacation, 7 days goes by, three checks were sent out to a different bank, Chase Bank, and um, unfortunately, because I guess 3 or 4 days went by, the money was gone. Their current bank and Chase said the accounts were closed, and $260,000 later, nobody wants to reimburse them, and that they're out the money.
So they could have prevented that by, if they had that positive pay, or even if they didn't have that positive pay, right? There was still
That's
an
correct.
opportunity. They could have like notified them, hey, this is fraud, and the banks could have clawed it back, right? Or not honored it. But the challenge in this particular case was they didn't do anything for a week. Is that correct?
That's correct. And
No,
so it wasn't caught.
I've taken some expensive vacations, but that's a very very
That would have been
expensive.
a hell of a vacation for
That's right.
Corville.
So, Butch, for like the small business owner, right? Like, I think the topic that you're really bringing up here is number one, being proactive. That like really thinking through these. If you have the right broker, they're asking the right questions from the beginning and setting this stuff up ahead of time so that this doesn't happen. But like the other question is this. Even if it does happen, like what I'm freaking out about is not even like the transaction of the money right away, but the continuity of the business. Like, where am I going to get the money like now and in the interim where all parties figure this out so that I can keep, keep my own staff paid, right? Like keep
That's
like
correct.
whatever inventory I need, like any payments going out, like how is continuity working in that regard?
Yeah, and so, and again, there's insurance coverage for this, and it's not that expensive to have in place. But again, people don't always think about crime or cyber insurance coverage. So
Hmm.
even moving past the forgery and alteration, which that's where this would have been covered under their insurance policy.
Hmm.
Um, Social engineering. We see this all the time. Money being wired to someone who acted like a vendor and or a CFO asking another person in the company to send or wire money elsewhere. These
Hmm.
things happen every single day. And it takes one little mistake or someone not closely watching every action an employee or their business partners are doing, and it's gone. And it's not going to be protected by your banks. And I'm not rambling on about banks because it's the way the business is done. And so you can look and make sure your insurance is there to protect you for these unexpected perils where insurance can come through and you're not out a couple $100,000 because of a mistake by an employee or a partner.
So
How
is it,
important is it, Butch, to like actually like the broker themselves in this particular relationship for a small business owner? How important is the relationship with the broker themselves in making sure that you're adequately protected? Like, is it
It's
pretty much
very important.
simple? Yeah. Tell me what
I mean,
like the differences would be between like somebody that's just like, let's say, going through the motions as an
yeah.
insurance broker versus somebody that's really proactive.
Well, I mean, Tom, I know your business changes all the time, and Adam, and I mean, businesses change, which also changes how you'd want your coverages to kick in. And so
Mm.
having a strong relationship with a broker and having a broker know your business inside of and out, they can align your policy and tailor it to the way you'd want it to react for some of these circumstances. And if a broker is just letting policies automatically renew, which is typical, then it's not going to react the way that you like it to, especially right now with the ever changing policies and insurance coverages are changing every single year as well, right? So there could be a new exclusion added to your policy, or there's new coverages out there that need to be brought to your attention. So having a strong relationship with your banker, accountant, it's just important as it is with an insurance broker.
And
absolutely,
I'm
but
assuming the smaller the company, the higher the impact and more important the relationship, to be honest with you, right? If I have a fleet of,
Sure.
let's say, trucks, if I only have 10 trucks and I get one or two more or lose one or two or whatever, right? Like that impact versus if I had a fleet of 100 like
Yeah.
vehicles and only had a change of one or two, like the impact is very different, right? So having that broker that can really stay on top of a proactive nature, I can see how that can be extremely important. Adam, you wanted to add something there?
Yeah, I want to add, because I think from a small business owner's perspective, I think people have this misperception, or at least I did, that you have a relationship with your bank, and the bank's is going to be your friend, right? What understanding is, ultimately the bank is going to protect their own assets first, right?
Sure.
So they're not your friend, right? Knowing, having that mentality that you need to really protect yourself, these are the steps that you can take. You talked about verifying the payable. You also talked about, I think, I don't know if you also mentioned the risk of actually writing a check versus paying electronically, right? Because I think there's a lot of fraud with people replicating your checks, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, most banks and financial institutions would much prefer ACH than checks. I mean, we're seeing just with technology out there, writing checks is so dangerous because people can recreate that, and your routing and account number is right there in your signature. So
No,
the
I got a
amount,
great story.
yeah,
My I have him, my dad's in his 80s, right? And he writes checks. And I go, Dad, I go, Dad, why are you writing checks? Though your bank has an electronic pay. He goes, oh no, I've been writing checks for 70 years or whatever, 60, whatever. And I take the check from him. I go, Dad, see this check? And he goes, yeah. Well, it has your address on it, has your signature, and you see those numbers on the bottom? That's your routing number and your account number. I said, with this information, I think I can do some damage. And he looks at me, he goes, I'm writing checks.
This is
well, I mean,
this is
some
taking
people are stuck in their own ways, right?
this
He
is
wasn't
taking
changing.
this is taking a very proactive step forward for Adam in protecting his inheritance.
That's right.
Back, I'm like, hey man, this could be my money.
That's it. Yeah. Butch, what's one thing that, like, as a small business owner, I know that you spend a lot of time focusing on the trade space, as well as the technology space. I know you've done a lot of work in non-emergency medical transportation, right? Like, as a small business owner, what's the hot topic of insurance today in the small business world? What should we be aware of? What should we be reading about? Should we be thinking about right now with regard to protecting ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think property has been a huge talking point because the entire industry has been taking huge hits as far as because of all these storms across the United States. Um, Property rates have been going up significantly, but also carriers are adjusting their coverages to lower their potential payout. And so they really want to make sure that you're taking the proper steps to protect your own assets and properties by updates. And if something is not correct when you're actually getting insured, if your roof is more than 20 years old at the time of claim, it's something you really should look at and review because your policy again might not cover you the way that you'd think. And so
Hmm.
I think that's a big hot topic because the rates are going up and carriers are either limiting what they could pay out or adjusting their policies. So taking a closer look in that is pretty important, especially when we're seeing all of the storms even here in Maryland.
Hmm.
So there's wind hail deductibles that are being put on. There's different endorsements and exclusions on your roofs. So taking a look at your property policy is pretty important.
I like that. What if you find, let's say, some type of gaps or negligence in, like, a policy? Let's say you look over my policy and you're like, geez, Tom, you should really make some changes here, right? Like, you've got some exposures that I really think that you should focus on.
Hmm.
But I'm in between my policy renewal dates. What happens?
Yeah, I mean, well, you should make the changes as quickly as possible, whether it's
Hmm.
working with your current broker or current insurance agent or making the change.
Yep.
And if for some reason that your carrier can't adjust it or won't adjust it, we can certainly change even if it's mid-term to a different carrier that will.
So let me be clear with this. If you actually have somebody audit your account and find something that's worth, right, altering the policy, acting immediately is the most prudent
Yeah.
way for a small business to protect themselves. Don't wait. Like have
Yeah,
somebody
so more importantly,
like
you don't
audit
have
that
to,
company and find it, right?
That's right. I mean, I almost feel like when I see gaps or mistakes in coverages, it's almost like those things happen like the next week. And it's like, gosh, I wish they would have just made the change right away instead of thinking they'd wait at renewal time.
Makes sense.
so, and I can make changes to my policy at any time. I don't have to wait till renewal. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think the perception is like, oh, I gotta wait till it renews.
Yeah,
And
no,
I'll
I
look
mean,
at it
you
then.
you could always adjust it working with the insurance carrier to make the changes that you'd like if they're willing to do it. But if not, you can always switch as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's typical for like an alignment review? Like you do that quarterly with folks, you do it like what's normal for a small business to check to see if like the alignment of the policy and where the business is at currently matches up.
Yeah, I mean, I think at a minimum it's annual, but checking in with your clients as an insurance broker at least quarterly is important because things change all the time. They can grow, they could be adding new equipment, changing locations. So I mean, just having a constant contact with them, and at the minimum, obviously annually.
Makes total sense. Yeah. Well, if we have to get in touch, anybody on our target audience here, our listeners, right, wants to get a hold of you, Butch, to see if possibly you're the right fit for their company. How do we get in touch with you? And then what's the next steps?
Sure. Well, you can go to our website, kriegerinsurance.com, or you can email me at krigerd@krigerinsurance.com. Hopefully, Tom, you guys can distribute that to the viewers. Always happy to talk and have a conversation. Whether we can help you now or not, I always just care. I'm an insurance nerd, so I always just love talking to people and seeing how I could help them, whether they do business with us or not.
Love that.
For me, hanging out with Butch, I think the key takeaways for me was don't assume that the bank is going to take care of it. Make sure you're monitoring your bank account on a daily basis. And, you know, if you can, stop writing checks and go to ACH. I think those are my big
That's
three takeaways.
absolutely.
All right, this was fantastic. So I think I'm excited that this will be another great episode, and we appreciate you being here.
All right.
Happy to do it.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
See you, Butch.
Take care, everybody. Yep.
Bye.
Bye.